What happens when two dudes, one a retired Navy SEAL commander in Colorado Springs, and the other a hippie meditation teacher in New York City, get together to discuss living mindfully? That's a great question, because we don't know what will happen either. Raw, uncut, and unapologetic. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness with co-hosts John McCaskill and Will Schneider. Each week, we take an authentic dive into how mindfulness continually impacts our lives, deepens our relationships, and allows us to be emotionally alive. We filter all of our conversations through the man box, where we unpack how as men we are expected to act in society, how fighting the authentic human experience is exhausting and damaging, and how mindfulness can help. Now, on to the show.
All right, here we are. Before we even get started, Will, show us that shirt, brother.
I love that shirt, man. That's right. Okay, I gotta make sure I can see it. Look at this shirt. Here is Men Talking Mindfulness first gear, right?
That's right.
My cousin made this Men Talking Mindfulness logo. You know, it's John. I wore this the last couple of days. People are saying, "What is MTM?" Which is what we wanted,
you, man.
Right? And people are saying what I think is I kind of like. They're like, "Is that Men Talking Men?" I'm like, "That's actually really cool." Men Talking Mindfulness, right? But look at the back. I think the back is really cool, right? Boom,
raw, uncut, unapologetic.
You know. So we got some merch coming on, everybody. We're gonna open up a store probably in August for. We're working out those details and. So I don't know. We have merch, John. This is amazing.
Thanks
for bringing that up because it's I'm wearing it. I feel so proud. Actually, the cotton is really good. I like the cotton and the feel of the shirt too. So I'm excited to get them out there for our audience. So thanks for bringing that up. It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, this is actually one of our pre-recorded episodes. We're recording just because, again, Will may or may not be leaving the country, and we want to make sure that we have good connectivity. So we're recording this here on what is today, the 12th of July. It's going to air on the 30th, and we've got special guest here, Dr. Seth Hickerson, which we'll make sure that we refer to him as Dr. Seth Hickerson through the entire show. I'm kidding. Seth is a good friend of both Will and me, and I'll just read his bio, and then we're going to bring him up on stage and get into the regular show. So Dr. Seth Hickerson is an innovative educator, coach, entrepreneur, and multi-branch military veteran. Multi-branch. Thank you for your service, Seth. Seth has been training high-performing individuals such as professional athletes, Navy SEALs, and business executives for the last 15 years. Dr. Hickerson is an expert in the implementation of mindfulness, emotional intelligence, cognitive fitness, and resiliency training. Seth is dedicated to providing access to practical tools, tips, and techniques that enhance self and situational awareness, reduce stress, and improve performance. And we are going to be talking about that cognitive fitness or mental fitness here today. Welcome, Seth. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me. And the first thing I like to tell people after they hear that bio is to lower their expectations. Real quickly, let's just take a breath and lower our expectations.
Well, hey, you got me and Will here, so we're all uncut, unapologetic, and
I know.
You saw the first few episodes of this show before we ever turned it into a podcast. It was just Instagram Live. Yeah. It was about as rookie as you get, but we also had a lot of fun, and we've come a long way, and we love having you here on the show, man.
Yeah, so, I love watching what you guys are doing, and you know, as many men as we can get out there and women talking about mindfulness, the better. And so, you know, as a failed podcast person myself, to see the distraction you guys are having, it's admirable because I know the time and the work and the commitment. So kudos to you for doing what you're doing and seeing the numbers go up, and I'm grateful to be a part of this season. So. One thing I wanted to do on the shirt, right? I love the shirt. I'm going to get one, I'm sure, right? Men talk, and then on the back, raw, uncut, unapologetic. And I don't know if it's a weird military thing, but the way my mind works when I see letters or words is I always try to formulate like things out of it. And so the raw, uncut, unapologetic, in my mind, I instantly saw the three letters and it said RUU.
Man.
That's a good
shit.
My mind just okay. Well, thanks for the show, man. I think that's all we needed from you.
I just That's a great
I
question.
like
That is
So,
awesome.
yeah, are you you? So
you exactly. That's thanks. See, like I admire your humility, Dr. Seth. Every time I talk to you, I always have some sort of enlightenment, something,
it's just, you know
something
what I
special
mean?
that comes through.
It's the fastest way to spiritual enlightenment right here. You just got it in 10 seconds.
Humble and arrogant. Like you talk about yin and yang.
The yin and
Amazing.
yang.
Yeah. That's what we're about. Believe me, I have to do a lot of detaching or try to detach. But
Well,
anyway,
hey,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, again, happy to have you, brother. Super excited about this episode. And Seth and I actually work together with My Steady Mind, and we coach with one another, and super excited about the work that we are doing together. And obviously, again, very excited to have you here on the show. For those who may not have ever tuned in to one of our episodes before, this is Men Talking Mindfulness. I'm John McCaskill, out here in Colorado Springs, retired Navy SEAL commander. My brother from another mother, Will Schneider, out there, normally in New York City, currently in Pennsylvania at his parents' house, the house he grew up in. Will, great to see you again, brother, as always. How you doing, man?
I'm good. I have a new best friend, my mom's cat. Usually this cat hisses at me, scratches me, and this is the only time I've ever been scared to my bones with this cat, like talks in like demon voices. And now it's I'm the cat's best friend,
Nice.
and I'm sneezing because of it. But it's good. It's good to be back, John. Dr. Seth Hickerson, appreciate you here today. My mom is getting better. For all of those that are concerned and worried, she'll be out of the hospital by the time this podcast airs. But it's a real I was talking to John before the show, good moment of mindfulness, just being more present for my mom and my dad. And now I'm kind of taking care of them. My dad's 82. My mom is 76. So cooking for my dad. We're going grocery shopping together. We might go a little golfing later. And I said to John earlier how, when your family and your loved ones, like really like the family, when they need you, you just go. There's like no hesitation. You just show up. And like I spent just hours with my mom, or an hour and a half in the hospital yesterday, just talking to my mom. She was giving me the business because I'm like, I'm the guy who's helping my dad and my two brothers and the rest of the family. So I'm like the point person, I guess. But yeah, so it's good to be back. I'm really excited to talk about mental fitness. And every time, like I said earlier, Seth, every time we talk, I learned something, and I feel more of my heart, and I feel I'm okay where I am on a mindfulness path. So thank you for bringing that awareness to me, and thank you for all the work you're bringing to the world.
Yeah, my pleasure. I mean, it's all part of my own recovery, right? This is my helping others helps me, and it's, we're in this together. It's a lot of the things I tell, especially men, we think we're alone, right? And especially coming off a pandemic. I mean, everybody's minds out there are not very steady, and that's what we're trying to help people is come up with some, practical tools to help you navigate the daily stressors of life,
Right.
And so it's been awesome. And yeah, we're on, and the things we've been able to witness with people we're coaching and mentoring, it's powerful. So yeah. Thank you.
Well, yeah. So why don't we actually, we kick off the show with a mindfulness practice. So, and we're just going to actually give you both, Dr. Seth, like, why don't you teach us one of these practical tools now that we can do in like 3 or 4 minutes, as a way to kind of launch into, more of your work into the show and deeper into mental fitness.
Yeah. Well, one of the first breathing techniques that we introduce in our training is called the BAMO breath. And I think you may have mentioned it before to your viewers, but I'll expand a little bit on what it is and how it works and what we're trying to do. And we'll talk probably more about that as we get into the episode. But BAMO, again, being a military guy that speaks in acronyms, means breathe and move on. And when we're doing, mental fitness training, it's all about having different reminders, internal cues, external cues to help us remember what we're trying to do. And so we try to have some fun language at My Steady Mind. And the first one we use is BAMO. And BAMO is really the most basic breath you can take that flips the switch from sympathetic to parasympathetic nervous system. There's a bunch of different breathing techniques out there. And ultimately, all the breathing techniques we're doing are designed to help us when we're in that sympathetic state, anxious, worried, fight, flight, or freeze. We need to, with the athletes and people I train, we call it flipping the switch. So you flip the switch from sympathetic to parasympathetic. The parasympathetic is the parachute that calms you down. And it might just be that split second that I need depending on what's going on. And so if you can thank BAMO or remember BAMO, or if you're around somebody else that needs it, you yell BAMO and they know that means to breathe and move on. And then they take what the BAMO breath is, a 4-second inhalation through the nose and a 4-second exhalation through the mouth. No pausing, just 4 seconds in through the nose. And we'll do one. You want to make sure you get down into the diaphragm because you have to activate the diaphragm to activate the parasympathetic nervous system. So that's why you have to get down there and hit that, and then ultimately what I do, and we'll talk more about, is when you approach this as training, and you're doing these things that we teach, you're conditioning your mind and your nervous system to automate the process. So that,
Well, okay, right. Because as you keep doing it, it becomes like,
it's
first
like
nature.
weightlifting, right? We're lifting and we're exercising to build physical endurance and physical capacity. You're doing the training that we do, mental fitness training, cognitive fitness training, to build cognitive endurance and cognitive capacity. No different. And so
Excellent.
that's what we'll do, the BAMO breath, and I can expand on that as we talk about other things. But we'll just get comfortable, and I'll do one, I'll count it out, and then we'll let you and your listeners do 2 more on their own. And when I have people do the BAMO breathing, some people may be stressed out there right now, some people may not be, but when you do it, pay attention to how you feel on the inhalation, because when you're breathing in, you're activating your sympathetic. That's the alert phase. So just see how your body feels. And then when you exhale, see how your body feels when you breathe, when you blow out the air, because you're going to feel like a little cool. That's your parasympathetic activating. So just pay attention to how you feel when you do it. All right.
Excellent.
We'll sit down. You can close your eyes, get comfortable, and I'll count us through one. In through the nose, you can put your hand on your belly, really feel that stomach expand. And then when you exhale, I should hear it. So inhale, go. Inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 1, 2. Yeah, open that mouth. 3, 4. There you go. Do 2 more on your own. Pay attention to how it feels. Very good. How do you feel? Better? Feel all right?
I feel more grounded. Yeah, I feel more grounded. I'm more present. Definitely more relaxed. I got to be honest. I saw my mom yesterday, and she had a ton of visitors yesterday, and I was the last one to see her before I got kicked out for the visiting hours over. And she's like, "I'm a little stressed. I'm stressed." So we actually did 4-4 breath for like 5 rounds, and she started to fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
So I just really got to relax. And it's like, I'm sitting there, I was like, oh my God, my mom's sleeping. And then I moved, and her phone fell on the floor, and she woke up. I was like, what?
Right.
But she was out, she was like, it's a really great way, again, to get into that parasympathetic nervous system and calm your ass down. Right. Literally. Right. And I think it's a good time to get, before you go into a big meeting, before you get on a phone call, before like anytime, before you go to bed.
And that's it. And the counting, or the counting again, 1, 2, 3. You can't count and think about the stuff that's been stressing you out. So it brings you internal. You're activating the 2 things, and we'll talk about this, especially the ultimate goal from a high performance standpoint, which is what me as a sports psychology guy, it's all about, is controlling the 2 things that control everything. Your thoughts, which control your mind. Your breath controls your nervous system. And most people in our society have no awareness or control over either. So they're at the mercy of both. And that's what it comes down to. And we'll talk ultimately, the thing that we're, through mental fitness training, especially, what we're trying to help people master is energy. And that's the big disconnect, right? Like, everybody in our world's exhausted, fatigued, burnout, tired, and mostly because they don't understand the concept of mental energy.
Well, let's get into that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's get into that. But first, I want to kind of lay the foundation as far as why the hell should our listeners be listening to you?
There you go.
Right?
Because I'm friends with you guys. I thought
There you go.
social proof was
That's
just being on your show.
well, John was saying, like, why should we listen to you? And we talked. We're becoming closer friends, Seth, and I really appreciate you telling your story of like a self-proclaimed fuck up to a highly educated doctor and like high performance coach. So like, give us your journey into.
It didn't happen overnight.
Yeah, of course. Well, I mean, that never does. So if you want to share some of that with us, would be amazing. So
please. Absolutely. And I'm still a work in progress, as we all are. So, a bit about me and my background. So I'm a small town boy from southern Indiana, Bedford, about 20,000 people. So shout out to all your Bedford, Indiana listeners. But so growing up, I tell everybody I was a really good athlete, but I was a shithead kid. And that was it. From the time I was 3, my dad coached all my sports, but from the time I was 3 until ultimately 18, it was every football, basketball, baseball year round, all 3. And so I played football, basketball, baseball, elementary school, junior high, high school. And I was that kid, that could show up to a baseball game hungover and high and go 3 for 4 with 2 home runs and 5 RBIs. Right.
Jeez.
So I had a ton of talent, but I was off the field. All I cared about was, chasing women, smoking weed, drinking. And, so I showed up kind of in high school. All my family are educators too. And so I'm an educator also, but, I got out of, because of who my parents knew, I could get away with anything in my little small town, DUIs and stuff. I just was, damn it, Hickerson, like go home, and so I didn't learn many kind of lessons with some of the stupid shit I was doing. And I'll get to where I kind of learned the ultimate lesson. But, when it came to managing my emotions, the only tool I had was alcohol. I drank when I was happy, sad, scared, whatever. That was just what I did. Nobody was teaching me. And we'll talk about why nobody in our country knows how to manage emotions from our school system later on. But in small town Bedford, Indiana, that wasn't happening. And so I just, I came to my high school like my freshman year and I asked my counselor, what's the minimum GPA to be eligible for sports? And she was like, it was actually
a friend question.
And it was a friend of my mom's. And she was like, well, damn it, Seth, it's 2.0. And so I was like, cool. That's what you're going to get for the next 4 years. Right. And that's basically what I did, and I was, it's kind of that gift and that curse. Like school wasn't hard to me. I was the kid that could make a 30 on a test, a 50, a 60, not show up. And then the teacher would be like, hey, dude, you need to make a 93 or you don't pass the class. And I could show up and make a 95, and so that's just, I maintained a 2.0, which is harder than maintaining a 4.0. To maintain a 2.0,
yeah.
And with the girls and the sports and
I had other shit to do, man. I had other shit to do. That was, the only way I was going to college was to have a full ride baseball scholarship if I didn't get drafted out of high school. That was what was in my mind, right? And so, I just went to high school and, I did my thing. I played sports, I partied, and then I thought, my whole identity from literally 3 or 4 up until 18 was an athlete. That's what people knew me as. That's what the paper told me as. That's what my stats said. And I was a really good athlete. And ultimately I was getting baseball. Baseball was my best sport. And I was getting some baseball scholarship opportunities. But because of the way I was, basically my coach was like, partial scholarship opportunities at best. But in my mind, I thought it was fucking elite, And so I basically drank away and lost my scholarship opportunities. So then I graduated high school with a 2.0 and no plan B, nothing. And so that was the first time I lost my identity. All I'd ever known was, and now it's gone. And I don't have any, there's no more sports to be played. There's no scholarship. I didn't get drafted. There's nothing, right? And so that happens a lot, in our schools. And kids, we don't teach kids about identity and identity loss, which we'll speak about too as we get my doctorates in educational leadership. So I can really get on that soapbox with you. But we don't teach it. So we're not prepared for it like I wasn't. And so I just fell into that downward spiral, right? More drinking, more drugs, more partying, taking little bullshit jobs, like renting wave runners out for, I just had no direction. And nobody was there to really bail me out. I was on my own and lost and depressed and anxious and suicidal and you name it.
Wow.
How'd you turn it around, man?
The good old U.S. Navy.
There you go.
So, I fell, who you are, right, baby? So I fell into that pity party for about a year. Some people get in that pity party and that's just where they go, right? That's
the rest of their life.
The rest of their life. And I saw, I think it's because, I did have good parents. They were about education. I understood as an athlete, kind of like I wasn't like a complete piece of shit. At least I knew how to kind of like work out and stuff. But, I fell into that pity party for about 8 months. And then I said, all right, I got to do something. And, college isn't an option. There's no real good job opportunities here. So I joined the Navy. And joined the Navy and was with the Seabees. John probably knows what the Seabees are, Combat Construction Battalion and things like that. And my first duty station actually was with the Fleet Aviation Specialized Operations Training Group, Pacific Fleet Detachment at Atsugi, Japan, Phaso Trade Group. Now I'm speaking John's language, but it was in Tokyo, Japan.
What did you say?
Yeah. So now my first duty station, when I got out of, I'm from Southern Indiana / Hot Springs, Arkansas, did my thing, went to Great Lakes for boot camp, went to Meridian, Mississippi for my A school training.
When was this, Seth?
Back in the 40s.
Yeah, exactly.
No, this was 19. So I graduated high school in 1994. And then this was like right around December of 94. So, right 6 or 8 months after I graduated. And the first duty station I had as a little 18-year-old Southern boy Navy guy was Tokyo, Japan. So and this is where a lot of my training is influenced by. I was stationed in Atsugi Naval Air Facility at Atsugi, Japan, for 2.5 years. And so I got thrown, I'll say thrown out of this country because I think they were trying to get me as far away. I joined with a buddy of mine on the buddy program.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they told us you're going to get boot camp together. You're going to get A school together and you're going to get your first duty station together. And we're like, awesome. But the shit we were, so we got boot camp together. We got A school together and they're like, we got to get you fuckers as far apart as possible. So they sent me to Tokyo and him to Newport, Rhode Island.
Oh my God.
Like literally as far apart. They're like, you guys are done. You go elsewhere. And so, so I went to Tokyo, and I'll pause there if you have any questions. And that's where I really started to kind of get, some insight on the world's different,
Yeah. I mean, I guess the one question I have is when you are out in Tokyo and you are seeing that insight that the world is different, what inspired you to not take that same kind of screw up route that you had in high school? Like, okay, now you've joined the Navy.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
I still took that route. Yeah. The screwing up didn't start till after. It didn't stop until after the Navy.
Okay.
But I learned while I was in the Navy some just really stuff kind of by proxy, right? Like I didn't go in to the Navy to become a mindfulness guru,
Yeah.
I was going in just to figure something out and not be a piece of shit and try to get my life somewhat squared away and get some money for college. And that's what I went in for, right? And so, but anyway, I was over there. And I mean, this was also like, I was a partier, right? I like to party. I like to get down. Now I live in Tokyo, Japan at 18. Not a good combo. No drinking age, right? So I never had to be 21. I never had to do that. I went to, I lived on base and they would compensate, on base because the cost of Tokyo living was so high. You could go get like a case of Corona for like $9 at 18 legally. So,
wow.
Yeah, the enlightenment didn't start there. In one way, what was happening as I was doing my time over in Tokyo, kind of the first awareness I had was, you have to build up leave, right, in the Navy so you can take time off. And so you have to, 12 months accumulates 30 days. And so I wanted to get 30 days leave to come back home. And so I stayed in Tokyo and worked and did my thing. And I was out. I mean, I was in Tokyo. I was getting around Tokyo, partying. I was mixing and mingling and really living it up. But the first kind of aha thing I had was when I took my first 30 days leave and I came back, I was going to take 2 weeks in Bedford, Indiana and 2 weeks in Hot Springs, Arkansas. Those are my kind of hometowns, both similar, small town, 20, 30,000 people. And so I left Tokyo and came back to the States. And I was in, I think I went to Hot Springs, Arkansas first. And I was there for about, partying and having fun. But after about a week of there, I was like, man, why is it so loud and noisy? And everybody's just irritated and stressed out and pissed off here. I just felt that, and I was like, there's 20,000 people in my town and it's just irritating and loud and noisy. There's 13 million in Tokyo and it's peaceful.
Yeah.
That was my first, like, what? And I was just reflecting on that, in some bout of sobriety that I had, but I was like, and then I went to Bedford, same thing, right? I'm in this, 30,000 people and I'm hanging out with my friends, but everybody's just irritated, agitated, short-tempered, just wah. It's just this, like, it felt like it's sticking to me, right? And I was like, man, I want to get back to Japan.
Wow.
It's peaceful,
Wow. Yeah.
And I was ready and I went back. And then when I went back after that visit, I started saying, okay, what's different over here? Like, why is it this way? And that's when I started learning about, Buddhism and mindfulness and meditation and kind of the Zen life that they live over there.
Right.
And I was just like, okay, let me try some of this. Right. And I, was doing some half-assed meditation. I was getting massages, going to temples. I was, just trying to kind of do it. But that was one of the most profound moments I had in my life was, go ahead.
No, I love that. Because like knowing peace, right? I mean, that was the difference. Like you're still like the same, party person, this and that, but getting out of your element, right? Getting out of your, your typical roots and your typical routines, right? And then taking yourself to a completely different culture that really centers itself around community and peaceful practices. And then but feeling that it's not a mental thing. It's like knowing that on a deeper, like in my bones level.
Right.
And then because we're hardwired for that, right? I mean, this peacefulness, this stillness, and then it's like, and then wanting to go back, like almost, it sounds like it was just kind of like a natural intuitive inclination to go back to get to know peace. And so I just want to mention that in there because we have, and I think for anyone that's listening that's been kind of doing the same rat race all the time, what can you do? Even for even like a few weeks or definitely a longer amount of time, like taking yourself to a peaceful place,
right?
And then getting to experience peace, and then getting to know peace later on. So thank you for mentioning that's a really great.
And I love the distinction of what you made there, right? Because I didn't know anything, and I wasn't trying to know anything. I just felt something.
There you go. Exactly.
And when I talk and I train and I help people, because, a lot of in the North here, especially in America, like people like, if I'm going to get into mindfulness, like I've got to be a master. I've got to perfect it. I've got to be before I'll feel or get the benefits.
Good
right?
luck.
Like, I know, but that's the mindset, right? They're just, first, they don't know what the hell it is. But then if they're like, well, if I'm going to try it, if I'm not an expert in 3 days, then the shit doesn't work. Right. That's like the American mindset. And so mindfulness practice and this stuff, it's all about, managing emotion and how you feel, and that peace and that stillness, which is so foreign to our country, and that was, I remember when I first went over there, the first kind of like meditation I tried, I was like, I'm going to go sit down. And I didn't know what I was doing. I saw people sitting in meditation pose at like a temple, as a public, like that's what's cool about Tokyo is they have these temples and shrines like in the city, you don't have to go off to some far off commune. And I had no clue what I was doing. I just sat in the position they were in, crossed my legs, kind of shut my eyes. I kind of kept one eye open, looking around at people, like thinking something was supposed to happen. I mean, nobody was guiding it. I was just sitting there, and there was probably 10 or 15 people, and all of a sudden, like, I just started to feel something.
Wow.
Like energetically, and I just was like in my, so that's when I was like, okay, I don't know what the fuck just happened. I don't know what that was. But it felt good because I didn't feel great all the time. I was hungover, working all the time in the military, stressed, anxious, you name it, And so to get that little.
And you were what, 19
I was
years
19,
old?
19.
Stressed, anxious. I mean, that's
right.
where we are. I mean, that's where we were back then.
Yeah.
In 94, 95. Yeah. Right. And where we are today is, I would say, even worse.
Way worse.
19-year-olds are stressed to a level that they've never been. I mean, I've got my 19-year-old niece living with me, and I know she's stressed. Connected to social media, connected to everything constantly.
Stimulus. I mean, that's the thing. Everything is we talk about, right? There's a neurological process that we talk about, right? That's from a mental skills training. What you're teaching people or training people to do is proactively and intentionally facilitate the process of neuroplasticity.
Right.
And
Yes.
and so everything in a human being's life is contingent on basically their perception of stimulus.
Well,
And
it's just
we
like,
live in the most stimulating most stimulating
Yeah.
world ever. And most of it's designed to be negative to influence that STIA process because they want your action. Like John knows what I'm talking about here.
Right.
yeah.
And we're unprepared because our school systems don't prepare us for that.
Well, I think, you mentioned, well, I think, before, like to get into that neuroplasticity, why don't we take a little bit of a travel through, you mentioned energy and emotional, and emotions.
Yeah.
And it's like, we mentioned many times in the show about EQ, like, emotional intelligence and emotional literacy, and, why is that so important? Like, what is it about our emotional life that, so please just talk on that for a moment.
Yeah, I'll just kind of finish my journey that's gotten me to kind of where I'm at right now, and it'll give you some things to help kind of see where some of this stuff. So, so I did the Navy thing, and then after I left Japan, my next duty station was the coast of Spain, Rota, Spain. So I don't know, John, if you've been to Rota or not, but
I haven't, but I know it's beautiful.
You talk about there's sailors that were like, how the hell do you get Atsugi, Japan, and Rota, Spain, and Southern California with the Seabees down in Port Hueneme. So, the 5 years I was in is like the golden 5 years that most sailors dream to get upon retirement.
Wow.
So I was, for whatever reason, I was pretty blessed with my duty stations, and so, I went from Tokyo to the coast of Spain, which again, right, another totally different culture that's about, siestas and slow down. And so I lived in Europe and Asia. So I just had a really cool worldview. And when I got to Spain, I was a little more in tune with kind of, that lifestyle of being, relaxed or knowing how to relax, and drank a shitload of sangria, still partying. But what I remember about Rota, Spain was great. What I remember about the 90s was great. The whole 90s. From my freshman year of high school till 99 when I got out of the Navy. So thank God we didn't have cell phones back then, because I'd probably be in some like Guatemalan brig or something.
Or many embarrassing pictures out there. I'm sure.
So anyway, got out of the Navy, and I was like, okay, I always wanted to teach and coach. So this kind of gets where we're at now. So I got out of the Navy, came back to Indiana, went to rehab. So that was a good first step. Yeah, I volunteered.
Did you voluntarily?
Oh yeah, because I was just like, I got out of the Navy, dude. I was crushing like a case a day.
Wow.
I was drinking hard and heavy. Wasn't like getting in trouble, but mostly because I was getting away with shit. But was just drinking. I was like, I just get up in the morning, take a couple beers in the shower with me. Like I just always had beer with me. I was always drinking.
Wow.
And that went for about 6 or 7 months. I had a little money that I'd saved getting out of the Navy. So, as far as I knew, I had like 20 grand, and I thought it was 200 grand, and I was just going to live the life and party. And, so I did. I had a black Jeep Wrangler. I was in Southern California, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make my way back to Indiana. That trip took 3 months. I just would stop in Durango, Colorado, and party for 10 days. Then I'd go somewhere where I knew people, and so I felt like shit when I got home, man, and the drinking was really bad. And so I was like, all right, I was talking to my sister, and I was like, I've tried to stop before and it didn't work. And so I was like, I do practice. I am about proaction, believe it. And so like a lot of what my training is based on proaction. So I found a good VA, 30-day treatment facility up in northern Indiana that was for veterans only. You had to be honorably discharged. It was covered. It was a great rehab because, you're not in there with people that are forced in there or sent by judges. And so it's just a good community of veterans trying to get through similar stuff. And so it was, I got out. It saved my life, changed my life, and it's what got me on my path of sobriety. So, and then got out of that, and then was like, all right, now let's try this school thing. Right. I think I'm ready now. 25, 24. Used my GI Bill, did my undergrad because I thought I wanted to teach and coach health and PE. I want to teach, health and PE and coach a sport. That's what my plan was. Went to Indiana State, and when I was doing my undergrad in health and physical education, I took an elective class my sophomore year on sports psychology. And this was 20-something years ago. I'd never heard of it. And I was like, well, that sounds interesting. And I took it. I took it. And once I was in there, the first thing was I was fucking pissed. Because I was like, where was sports psychology when I was back in Bedford, Indiana?
Right.
Maybe I could have gone on and fulfilled that talent, those dreams, if somebody was teaching me how to manage my emotions from a performance. So I was just like, I was pissed off, right? And then you find out pretty quickly, well, sports psychologists and sports psychology is not available to the non-elite. It's for the D1s, the elites, the pros. And so I was like, fuck that. I'm going to go learn about sports psychology, and I'm going to bring it to the Seth Hickersons of the world. And so that was where I had kind of my first entrepreneurial vision. So then I kind of pivoted off the, teaching route, and I went to the University of Tennessee and did my master's in sports studies, focusing on sports psychology. And so I started getting thrown into even when I was in Indiana State, Dr. Ginter, who's a part of My Steady Mind, she was the sports psychology professor that I took the first class in.
I did not know that.
You didn't? Yeah. So
No,
she's like,
man.
yeah. So that first sports psychology class I took was taught by Dr. Ginter. Yeah. And so she took me in Indiana State. They were trying to get sports psych kind of rolled out to more teams. And so Dr. Ginter, I was a non-traditional student, being a veteran, being 24, and kind of knowing how to train already, mentally in the military. I say the military is the, number one training and development organization because we train mentally, physically, technically, proactively all the time, right? If you haven't served in the military, you've never really been exposed to that kind of training. And so I just kind of knew how to commit to training and attack things like training. And so sports psychology is mental training. And so, but they didn't have anything really established. And she's like, all right, I'm starting this athletic and sport consultancy, and you're going to be one of my consultants. I was like, I've taken a half a semester of sports psychology. I'm your consultant. And she's like, yep.
Wow.
And so, just being a veteran. And so we went around, and she just took me under her wing. She's like, all right, we're getting ready to go train the volleyball team on visualization. So read up on this, and here's what we're going to do. And here's the activities we're going to lead. And I'm trotting across campus, and all right, girls, let's, and I'm leading them on visualization tactics. And then we're going to go over here to basketball, and we're going to work on breathing techniques, and so I just got thrown into it and loved it. So went on to Tennessee to do my grad work in that. And then, like an idiot, or I don't know, a patriot, whatever you want to call it, I was missing the military. So I joined the Air Force. I was still trying to figure out what I wanted in life. I was like, what do I want to do? Do I want to go be sport? Do I want to miss the military? But I learned if you're going to join any branch, join the Air Force. So I cross-branched into the Air Force and was going to get my commission and go fly after graduate school. So I was drilling at Langley, and I was doing the whole Air Force thing, and loved that. But then after I finished my graduate school, I was, getting ready. I had plans were to go get commissioned and then go fly in the Air Force. But I got offered a really good civilian job at the University of Richmond, Virginia, to come oversee and open a big multi-million-dollar campus rec center and be in charge of fitness and wellness for all faculty and staff. And so I was like, well, I'm 30, do I want to go take this, Air Force pilot job, or do I want to go take this civvy job that, pay about the same, but a lot less likely to get killed over here? So I was like, I'll go take the civvy job. So deactivated myself from the Air Force, did the last 2 years on inactive reserve, and went to Richmond. And so I was at the University of Richmond, and I was overseeing fitness and wellness for faculty, staff, and students. I taught there for about 8 years, taught men's health, a bunch of classes for men. I used to teach guys how to feel their balls for prostate cancer and all that. So, or prostate, not prostate. Hopefully you're not feeling your balls.
Yeah. That's right.
Ridiculous. But
you have to use another method to check for the prostate.
Maybe if you do it at the same time, you might get some real good. I don't know. But I don't know. Yeah, we'll let you test drive that, John, and you can report out on another episode. So anyway, fast forwarding so we can talk more about it. Like I'm a CSCS, which if anybody out there is in the fitness world, a certified strength and conditioning specialist, which is like the PhD of fitness credentials. It means you can train professional and elite athletes. You have to have that credential. And so, but my big differentiator was always the mental stuff, right? There's physical training's a dime a dozen, but there's not many people out there that bring mental fitness, cognitive fitness training to the masses. And so that was what I wanted to do. So did my doctorate, to fast forward, at VCU in educational leadership, which is what allowed me to really research educational systems and models and then design a curriculum based on that training approach. So that's the first company I started, was called Boost, mental toughness and leadership, which was to bring mental fitness and sports psychology training to high schools and colleges that can never afford it or would never be able to access it. I started that 5 years ago. And so was out there trying to make that happen. But schools were it was pretty advanced for schools at that time, talking about mindfulness and breathing and stuff. And they just didn't want to pay for anything. So I was like, well, I'm for profit. So, this isn't going to work. So what other models, what other areas can we get into? And so over the next 3 years with Boost, we penetrated a bunch of different, teaching people how to training people how to manage emotions is something everybody needs to do, right? Especially in our country. So we got into a bunch of different markets, healthcare, universities, you name it. And then when the pandemic hit, me and the team said, all right, we had the kind of first version of the business and it's going good, but we know how unsteady and stressed people are going to be when you need me, or was that a assistant? Okay.
My dad's walking in talking. Just a thanks.
Yeah. So
I was like, please, sorry. Thanks. So, sorry, my bad.
Yeah, no worries. Hey, you wouldn't be the first time I've been shit. Like, shut up. We got to ask a question, dude.
Yeah. I'm just like,
God. But I'm trying to fast forward through all this shit so we can get the questions in. But so, yeah, we shut down during the pandemic as a business and said, let's regroup, refocus, rebuild, repackage, repurpose, and launch a brand new, bigger, better version in 2021 when people are coming out of this pandemic. It's going to be better designed. It's just going to check the boxes on what we learned on Boost. And so that's what My Steady Mind is. And we launched that essentially in January. And the two markets we're really trying to work with and get into are, because they needed the most, especially after the pandemic, are healthcare, helping doctors and nurses with emotional and burnout, exhaustion, or emotional exhaustion and burnout, and then law enforcement, just all the stress. And they lean to us because this is, in the landscape of mental health, there's treatment and there's training. This is training. And so it's been very well received, and, grateful to have John on the team helping facilitate it. So that's where we're at. That's what I do. Grateful to do it every day. It's basically My Steady Mind is the shit that keeps me relatively normal. And if it works for me, then it works for both of you and anybody else that tries it. So,
wow, great. Well, thanks for that awesome history of yourself. But let's come back to that. Let's dive in and talk about why is emotional literacy so important? Why getting to know ourselves at the deepest part of our being is our emotional life, and how that translates into the world when we get to know ourselves in a deeper emotional place.
Mm-hmm. So the reason, having the doctorate in educational leadership, you learn a lot of stuff. You learn some revealing stuff. You learn some fascinating stuff. And then I'm always like, well, what do you do with that information? And so most of your people may be somewhat familiar with it, but the reason everybody's probably tuning in and trying to figure this stuff out and asking those questions about emotional intelligence is because nobody in our country has ever been taught it, right? It's never been a part of our formal education in public school. Our school systems are designed systemically and strategically to eliminate and suppress divergent thinking.
Wow. And why is that? Why is divergent
there's
the enemy?
I love this country. I've been in 2 branches of the military, right? I still live by the oath to protect and defend every day. And this may sound cheesy. John may get it or not, but it's designed to perpetuate hypercapitalism, right? There's no money in healthy, independent thinking people. So I love capitalism. This country takes it a little too far. And literally, we've got systems and things in place that are designed to extract as much money out of our citizens from birth to death. And then they die before they can cash anything out. So there's some flaws, right? And all our educational system does. The way you suppress divergent thinking or emotional intelligence is you make everything about IQ, outward facing learning. Standardized tests, teaching to the test, right? That's what's important. That's what's going to be cool. That's what the big job. That's how you make the money. And IQ is important. I'm not saying that, but EQ, and as most science and research is saying now, is the better indicator of your health, happiness, and success. IQ is an intelligence quotient that once you turn about 16 or 17, it doesn't move, right? So if my IQ at 17 is 115. There's plenty of people that will sell you shit that says they'll take your IQ up to 150 or whatever. But realistically, it stays about 115. Now, that doesn't mean I can't go on and do amazing things. Your IQ just means how easy or hard it is for you to learn something. So I wouldn't say I had the highest IQ, so it was harder for me to learn things. People with a higher IQ, it's just easier to kind of learn more complex stuff. That's all that means, really. Your EQ, your emotional intelligence, how you enhance and develop that is through inward facing learning. We don't do that in school, right? That's why we say there's no funding for music, art, dance, PE, mental health. That's because that's what stimulates divergent thought. That's what has people reflect inwardly. We don't want that, and so the byproduct of our school system is people with 4.0s and great grades, maybe getting academic scholarships or doing whatever, but the byproduct is called learned helplessness.
Wow.
When you can't think divergently, you don't know how to take care of yourself, and that's what makes you dependent on a government, a politician, and an organization. So once you create that dependency, then you've got them conditioned to do what you want, and it's just easier to control, right?
Right.
So, and this is the truth. One of the main reasons I do what I do, right? So when I and John, when we took our oaths in the military, we swore to protect this country against all enemies, foreign and domestic. My steady mind is my defense against domestic terrorism.
Wow.
Which is, if you're not going to get this learning in school systems, I'll give it to you over here, right?
Right.
Because people deserve it. And
I think we are very because I've traveled many different places, and and we talked about being in different cultures and how they are with one another, and how they're raised and the system that they work in, and from the macro to the micro to the government to the community to the family. And I was raised in Pennsylvania, in this house I'm in right now, and I've been on to New York for the last 18 years, but I just our tempers are hot. We're just so easily triggered.
Right.
We're it's just a word, or there's so many different please.
It comes back to, and I want to kind of continue the point, why everybody, especially in our country, struggles with so much of that. Because when I do my mentorship, and really the ultimate thing, like the mindfulness and resiliency training that we're doing at My Steady Mind, is really to help people understand the one pillar of health that they don't, mental health and how to train mentally. So there's 4 pillars of health that all human beings get energy from. And this is a good thought activity we can do with your audience, right? Or you can go do this with anybody you know. I asked you to do this because it's very fascinating and alarming. So there's 4 pillars of health where human beings receive energy. That's what everything in life is about. Everything's energetic. Everything's energy. We're energy masquerading as humans, And so that's, people in our country don't struggle due to lack of time. We all have the same amount of time. They struggle due to lack of energy, particularly mental energy. So the 4 pillars of health where we get our energy are physical health, nutritional health, spiritual health, and mental health. And so what I'll ask people is, you go up to anybody on the street or say, hey, what comes to mind? Just ask anybody, what comes to mind when you hear the word physical health? Just ask, what do you think they say? Exercise, lifting weights, working out. You're like, good. If you do those things, you will have good physical energy, and or good physical health, and you'll have good physical energy. If you don't, you won't, right? I'm not guessing. That's how it works.
Right. Yeah.
So then the second one, you ask them nutritional health and just see what they say, right? Now, let's say they do say something like intermittent fasting or, keto or fruits or vegetables or whatever, right? Cool. If you do those things, you will have, in a routine manner, you will have good nutritional health and good nutritional energy. If you don't, you won't. Now ask them the third, which is spiritual health. This is where the answers start to get a little fuzzy, right?
Yeah,
but you'll hear some people say things like God or church or prayer, and those are good answers, right? Religion is a good thing. Well, in some ways, it's under spirituality, but it means basically if you have, you believe in a God, you're going to church and you're praying, you're accessing energy. So that's good. You're accessing that source of energy, higher power, right? Power, energy source. And so spiritual health gets a little fuzzy when you ask people around our country. Now, when you go up to people and you say, what comes to mind when I say mental health? What do they say? Depression. Not your listeners, maybe, but most people. When they hear mental health, first they'll draw a blank, like nothing comes to mind. And then you say, just think about it. And then they'll say, well, mental health, depression, suicide, anxiety. That's mental illness. That's not mental health. I didn't ask you.
Some of
that's
our
not,
men will be like, I'm fine. Men will be like, I'm fine. What do you mean mental health? I'm fine. I'm
yeah,
fine.
right,
I put up
right.
like a defense
That's
right
what I'm saying.
away.
They just, yeah. And that's because, so when you come back to our schools, right, in those 4 pillars of health, we teach a little bit about physical health, little bit, minimal. We teach a little bit about nutritional health, minimal. How much do we teach about spiritual health? How much do we teach about mental health? 0. So if you don't know what it is and how to access it, and from a training perspective, like that's what we're saying. You don't have to be perfect at any of those, right? Like literally, if your viewers are like, "What? Okay, Seth, I heard that. That's great, but I don't have time to do everything." Like our goal and what I try to help people understand is to do what you can every day to just access those pillars. And you will have a better day than 95% of the planet or 99% of the planet.
Well,
So
what
if
are
you're
some
listening,
easy? Yeah.
so that's
What
what
are
we'll
some
give
easy
you.
things for those?
Right.
What are some of the
So-
easy ways to access
So
that?
I'll tell you,
mental,
this is a simple one. This is a simple one everybody can do starting tomorrow or today, right? And so in my steady mind, we're really helping people learn the emotional control routines because the mental health pillar is the one nobody knows about from a training perspective. So that's why we have that, right? But let's say if you wanted somebody to tap into it. So tomorrow morning when we all wake up, right, you can just, when your eyes open, let's just say you lay there and take 3 BAMO breaths. Just take some breaths, deep breaths in bed, right? So now I'm working on kind of my mental health and oxygen to my brain. I'm getting my, I'm not just jumping onto the phone or whatever. So lay there, take 2 or 3 BAMO breaths. Mental health, check. Now down on the next to your bed on your knees and pray. Whoever you pray to. Pray to something that they mean, right? Just pray.
It could be gratitude, right? Could just be accessing gratitude.
Yep. So now I'm on my knees and I'm checking that I was in bed. I did my breath. I get next to the bed on my knees. I pray. So mental health, spiritual health. Then from your knees, do 10 push-ups or 5 push-ups or 2 push-ups. Whatever you can do on your knees if you need it, do something for your physical health. All right. Then get up, walk in the kitchen and drink 20 ounces of water. Nutritional health.
Oh,
that's it. That's how simple it can be, right? And I promise you, everybody listening out there, if they do that 3, 4, 5, 6 days a week, they're going to start the day better. They're going to feel better. It doesn't mean it's going to solve all your problems, but you're doing something proactively and intentionally in the morning before you jump into the shit of the day. And that separates you from almost everyone. Wow. So 3 BAMO breaths, mental health. Get on your knees and pray, spiritual health. 10 push-ups, physical health. 20 ounces of water, nutritional health. So that's a pretty simple one.
Right. And if someone was to stick with that for a couple of weeks, like, what might be next, or what might they, what might the experience be? Because that's one thing about the show that John and I really try to do with our listeners and our audience is just really give them simple tools, like give them something they can do 2, 3, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, like you're talking about, because, at some point, or that a lot of us don't think we think we have a time deficit all the time. That's like you talked earlier about time travel.
Right?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. And that's when people hear, and this is the thing, I know, why we all resonate, and John and I, because especially when we hear these things like mindfulness and emotional intelligence, there's still a perception that it's soft or that it's, and I'm like, hey, from a performance perspective, this is the secret skill set. I tell a lot of the people, because I train a lot of golfers, right? So if anybody out there is a listener that's, likes golf, I'll say, go to wherever, buy every golf magazine on the rack, Golf Digest, Golf Weekly, whatever. And they'll have all these golfers in there, right? And they'll show you, here's Ricky Fowler, here's my equipment, here's what I eat, here's my physical training, here's the mechanics of my swing. They'll break it down 7 different ways from sideways because they know that doesn't matter. The thing that separates them is the mental training. And they're not going to put that in golf. They're not going to tell you what they do. Yeah. That's the secret. Yeah. Those are the guys I train. Those are the things that they're doing, right? That they're not going to talk to the other people because they know that's what separates me. Everybody can hit it 300 yards. Who are the ones that
I was talking to my dad last night. We're watching Wimbledon, and I read this great book. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's called, I'm going to draw a blank here. It's like, The Power of Full Engagement. And it goes like how to manage your energy and not your time that makes the biggest difference. And so they use, like, they talk about corporate athletes, which you work with, with we all work with in some ways, but also they talk about professional athletes, and they really lean into tennis because the game hasn't changed in a couple 100 years or so. And they say what separates, the top 10 athletes from the top 5,000 athletes in the world, the tennis, is literally it's the 10 or 15 seconds between points that they're back in their game, they're finding their feet, they're finding their breath, and they're getting back in the zone to make the next serve or to take on the next serve. And so that 10 seconds in between, it's all here, but it's also, it's not something that naturally happens. It's something that they develop over time, and the confidence that comes with like doubling down onto that something so simple, but something so naturally bringing you more presence and calming yourself down and getting you into that parasympathetic nervous system.
And so what I like to help people understand from a sports psychology, right? So again, what we're talking about from the sports psychology was created for golfers. So of all the sports out there, right, golf is the most mentally demanding because one, it's individual. So I don't have teammates that can bail me out. That's any individual sport, tennis, swimming, track and field. Those are the ones that work with the most sports psych people, right? Because it's all me, right? But even in tennis, it's individual, but there's a reaction component to it. I have to react to that other individual. Golf is an individual sport. Nothing happens until I move. I'm not reacting to somebody else. So it's an individual sport. It's over time. So each round is over 4 hours. There's nothing but time between shots to think as you're going to your next shot. And it's over 4 days. So you have to sleep on things. You have to wake up on things. And there's a shitload of uncontrollables, the weather, the wind, the bad bounce that you don't have control over. So psychologically, golf is the most demanding sport. And that's where sports psychology, which takes elements of CBT and other things, came over to help golfers manage that mindset. And go ahead, John.
Wasn't Phil Mickelson?
Oh, yeah.
Wasn't he a big meditator? And
huge.
That really helped him save his game.
What's cool now, and you guys are probably seeing this, there's a term in the mindfulness community and some of the stuff, the term's called the shift. So there's this paradigm shift that's happening globally of East meeting West. Science and it's converging. And so because that's happening, now people that have done these things, like celebrities and athletes, feel more comfortable saying, oh, yeah, I meditate. They've been doing it for, a lot of them have been doing it for a long time. Right. Yeah. But now that this shift is coming, and this is what I'm so excited to be a part of, and what this podcast is, that we're the tip of the spear, you guys and us, the people that are out there talking and doing this, of this mega trend that's going to sweep through the country and make the 60s and 70s look tame. This is the way, right? And so back to performance, because I want people to understand. So My Steady Mind is the company. So the steady mind concept from a sports psych and a performance thing, steady mind means flow state or the zone or Zen, And so when I talk to athletes, John's got a book, I'm sure, back there.
You know it.
Oh, yeah.
So you'll hear people.
Oh, yeah, I love
high.
You'll hear people talk about it, right? We'll talk about flow. We may read a book. We may watch some stuff. But if you don't understand how to train to live in flow state. So when I coach athletes, right, let's say I've got a golfer. So, or if I'm let's say, do you have any kids that are like, do you guys have, I know you've got, but yours are young, John. I didn't know if Will, you had any like teens or no kids,
I don't have any children. No, I have lots of kids I know of. Yeah.
Yeah. Same here. There's got to be, my dad used to say, there's got to be a little Jean-Claude Van Hickerson out there somewhere. So,
yeah. Right.
If he's listening, I'm not going to tell you where I live, Jean-Claude. But, so anyway, from an athletic perspective, right? So if an athlete, let's say you have a 20-year-old athlete or 30-year-old athlete, they play basketball. So if they go play 10 games of basketball, so if one of them's not trained mentally, they're not trained to live in flow state. So the way the brain and the body works is if you go play basketball and you're 15 or 20, 2 out of 10 of those games, you're going to be in the zone. That means your brain and your athletic abilities sync up and you're in the zone, and it will happen about 20% of the time. And every athlete knows that, right? Like, oh my God, it felt so good. It slew, it was like I was in the zone. I couldn't miss, right? Well, that will happen 20% of the time. When you learn how to train, it happens 80% of the time because you live in the zone. You live in the zone. These high performing athletes, like the people I train, they're in the zone eating breakfast. They don't have to get in the zone before the game or hope they get in the zone. And so, but that doesn't happen by just magic. You have to treat mental skills training, mental fitness training like physical fitness training. But the good thing is, if people are listening, your brain, because it's 1,000 times, 1,000,000 times more receptive than your bicep, it takes 10 minutes of consistent routine a day, as opposed to an hour. If I want to get my arm big, I got to, really put in work. I got to go an hour a day, 6 days a week for 2 months before I notice a half an inch. Mental skills and cognitive fitness training, when you give it the right stuff, and what we've done in My Steady Mind, in the right acquisition, there's certain ways you have to do things before you can do others.
Right.
The growth is fast, and coming back to feeling it, you'll feel it quicker. So it's.
I had to laugh a little bit there. You said, if people are listening, like.
Oh, no. I know there's people listening. I think I meant to say, if your people listening are into whatever I'm saying.
We're trying to get into that. That's what I love about My Steady Mind. I was trying to get into that steadiness. We're trying to get into that state of peace. Like, I know, like, a lot of meditation, and stillness, it's like just being still. And that's like, and that's a the yin to the yang of all this activity and this and that. And what do we get to that place of stillness? Find that peace, find that steadiness. And that's what all these practices are about, really getting to know ourselves on a deep level. But just like anything, you want to you want to be skillful. You want to have bigger biceps and shoulders. You got to work out. You got to pick up the mindfulness dumbbells and do that 10 minutes of exercise every day. And especially, I love how you're talking about in your Mind Steady Mind program. It's like, it's almost like a step-by-step recipe. It's
it is.
Number 1, 2, 3, because
I tell people, Oh no, I tell people it's, literally, and you probably are familiar with Buddhism on this show, right? Like my old podcast was called the GI Buddha. So
there you go.
I'm Buddhish. I'm not a Buddhist, but I love Buddhism because science is proving that that's right, what they're talking about. And Buddha was a god, not a guide. It's a way of life, not a religion, and all that good stuff. But Buddha was a teacher. His dharma, the Eightfold Path, like literally that's my Eightfold Path, is what My Steady Mind is. It's my shortcut to secular enlightenment. So if you do these 9 steps, it will wake you up, right? And I'm not trying to turn people into monks, but I'm trying to keep them to not be monkeys. And so, literally, that's what My Steady Mind is. It's my dharma, my crack at dharma, right? It's my Eightfold Path.
And we've talked about this on the show before. Will and I have, meditation does not supplant your religion or your spiritual foundation. And that's where like some people get hung up on that. And I know that's not the topic today. The topic is mental fitness. But you did mention that you can even practice Buddhism and be Christian.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can practice. You could even practice meditation.
Yeah.
And be. Heck, you could be an atheist if you want.
Right. That's right.
But that's
what I try to help
thing.
people.
It doesn't supplant.
No. And that's a term that people get all worked up around, again, because spiritual health is not taught in our country. So nobody, when they hear, they don't, And so when I talk to people, right, spirituality just means I have faith in something that ain't me. That's all. It just means I have faith. I have faith that there's something out there that I can get energy and guidance from. Call it whatever you want. I don't care what you call it, right? That's up to you. But with the 2 things I teach people on meditation, from a practicality, a performance, a peace, and a happiness thing, is first, what you have to understand is, now let's say you've identified a higher power, right? Praying is us talking to our higher power. Right. Meditation is when we listen to our higher power. Most people in our country just run around and pray all the time. They never sit still. And let that higher power speak back. So they're missing out on it's a 2-way conversation, whoever your higher power is. So meditation just means that, right? It's a communication between you and
I will add to that piece, Seth, is I've always said prayer is when we talk to our higher power. And then if we have scriptures, for me, it's the Bible as a Christian. Right. If we have scriptures, that's the opportunity for our higher power to speak to us. Right. And then I add meditation to that whole thing, in that meditation allows you to quiet your mind so that you, know what you want to speak to your higher power about. Right. Because otherwise your mind's going to be all over the place. and
Unsteady.
you're not going to, yeah, it's going to be unsteady. Exactly. It's going to be an unsteady mind, and you're not going to know what you want to talk to your higher power about.
Right.
And then two, your mind is going to be unsteady, and you're not going to be able to hear what your higher power is saying to you. So
100%.
that's what I always say when people say, well, you're a Christian and you meditate. I'm like, well, yeah, because I want to know what I want to talk to God about.
How many times is, I mean, and I, like, it's the same thing. Like, I don't get out of it. Like, meditation is used in the Bible. Like, Jesus went to meditate. Like,
yep,
that's what he's doing. He was talking to God. So, I mean, but people have different strokes for different folks. I get it. But from a mental fitness and cognitive fitness, from a brain training, which is what we do at My Steady Mind. This is training, not treatment. I'm going to show you how to condition your brain that's deconditioned. And so, the way I kind of talk about meditation from a mental fitness standpoint is, if I want to get big, if my body's deconditioned, I'm out of shape, right? And I make the decision to say, hey, I want to go get in shape. I can't read a book about getting in shape. I can't watch videos. I can't, if I want to get my body in shape, I have to take my ass to the gym and I have to pick up a weight and I have to curl it, right?
Right.
And when I start curling it, it fucking sucks. It hurts. I'm like, I'm never going to get this. This is painful. That's so stupid. Why am I curling this stupid weight? But I'm curling the weight. And when I'm curling the weight, it's breaking down my muscle fibers. It's damaging my muscle fibers. Right. So then when I set the weight down and I go home, that's when the magic happens. That's the rest and recovery is what allows those neurofibers to regenerate and grow back a little bigger and stronger, right? So meditation is the same way for your brain. Most people in our society wake up, and because of the distractions and the thoughts and the unsteady mind, it's literally like your brain is doing reps all day, right?
All day.
Yeah.
And that's where mental fatigue, decision fatigue, mental exhaustion, burnout is a result of that mind repping. So meditation from a cognitive fitness standpoint is literally putting the weight down. You have to let the brain rest and recover. Just like I tore up those muscle fibers, all that thinking is damaging my neural fibers. So if I want my neural fibers, my neural pathways to grow back stronger, healthier, happier, whatever it may be, you guys sit the hell down and take a break intentionally. Right. And so that's meditation serves a bunch of great utility. I mean, it's saved my life. And I used to be the biggest skeptic out there, right? As I just fortunately got exposed to it, like living in Asia, right? I got kind of thrown into meditation as a way of life. It's not abnormal, right? And so
it also correlates beautifully. Like if we don't sleep, like literally we'll go crazy, but we got to give our body time to rest and restore and replenish. Right. And that's what meditation is, from like, instead of all this activity of the mind and all, and then everything just streaming and streaming and streaming, to just take a moment and find stillness, find that peace, find that steadiness.
Our brains have not evolved like society and technology has around us. So from a mental health, I mean, we could spend another hour just talking about the true ramifications on mental health as a result of that, like what it's doing to prefrontal cortexes, what it's doing to anxiety, depression. I mean, you can the research isn't good, right? Because a brain is a brain, but coming back to ego that we kind of talked about at the beginning, people who are not taught, they think mine's different, Seth. You don't know. I'm like, your brain is a brain. All right. And barring any defect or something, but a brain is a brain. I know how it works and I know how to make it work better, and then it's just a matter of, doing it or not doing it. And, so it's
mental fitness.
It's mental fitness.
And everybody could benefit from meditate. These mental fitness techniques that we're talking about. Every single one, every single person.
And what we do at My Steady Mind, as John knows, right, from a fitness perspective. So what My Steady Mind is, the 9 modules and everything in it, is literally us throwing the whole gym at you. Everything you can do to learn how to train mentally is in that course. It's the same as if I go to a physical, like if I say, I'm going to go get my body in shape and I join a gym, right? You go to that gym, you walk around, you try out different things, and you hate 80% of it. But you find the 20% you like, and you just try to do that on a daily basis or a routine manner. Mental training is the same way, but that's what we have to, because people have never been exposed to, meditation is one tool. It's not the only tool. There's breathing techniques, visualization, mantras, affirmations, biohacking. So we kind of give all of that to people to just say, try it out. And then figure out what you like and create your formula, your emotional control routine, which is what steadies your mind in the morning. Because this comes back to like the resting the brain, right? Like people think sleep is when I rest. You have to sleep because your brain never goes off. Your brain does not shut off ever. So when you sleep, you are trying to let it rest, but we know people struggle with sleeping, right? And so the skill and the superpower is, how do I rest my brain when I'm awake? That's how do I rest it when I'm actually trying to be a husband, be a father, be an entrepreneur, be a coworker, be a citizen? Because if you don't know how to do it, then you're not going to be at any of those things.
Yeah, that's the Jedi mind. You know what I mean? Like,
literally,
just like boom, it's like constant, it's just like the whole life becomes a meditation and awareness in a lot of ways. And of course, and we definitely get jacked up on emotional stuff, but it's just like, at least I'm aware when I'm jacked up,
right?
Instead of being just taken over.
Yeah. So the word, I say it all the time, and John, we use it, right? When I try to help people become, whether you're a stay-at-home mom or special ops or golf player or whatever, the thing I try to help people become is unfuckwithable.
There you go. Yeah.
And so what does unfuckwithable mean, right? I don't care if you're staying home. It doesn't matter. Whoever you are, you want to be able to live your life being unfuckwithable. But the only way you can become unfuckwithable is you have to master two things: self-awareness and situational awareness.
Boom.
And once you learn how to master those things, you can step out into anything, right? Screaming kids,
right.
and it doesn't matter what stress comes your way, it can't fuck with you.
You're centered. Yeah, you're centered. You're centered.
You're centered, right? And that the only way that happens is through training. Nobody's going to turn off listen to this podcast and all of a sudden be unfuckwithable. Well, they got to go do something now.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And it's unfuckwithable. That's the ultimate.
Did I spell it right?
There you go.
It's there in the caption.
That looks good to me.
Or it might be hyphenated or something.
Yeah.
I think that might be a good place to end, John. What do you think?
Seth, I think we're gonna have to have you back for another episode, man. We could talk all day, but this is a good foundation for mental fitness, right? And
just
nailed it there. My favorite analogy, and we've discussed it in our coaching sessions, there is that bicep, right? You're working the bicep and the curls, but where does the magic actually happen? It's when you put that weight down.
Put it down.
Same thing with our mind. Where does the magic 100%. Happen? It's when we put our mind down, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, that's damaging the neural fibers.
Yeah.
Right. Then now that they've been damaged and stressed, everything has to be stressed to grow. Right. Then you set it down, and those neural fibers get bigger, faster, stronger. The brain, or the myofibers, right? The muscular fibers. The brain fibers are no different than neural fibers.
Yeah.
And that's the big disconnect. Is everybody on the planet wakes up and they're just shot out of a fucking cannon and they're just curling.
Yeah,
and that's horrible. That's the worst thing you can do to a human brain.
That's how you start the day off, is getting shot out of the cannon.
Just drinking from a fire
picking up the phone, text messages, social media, then you're jacking up coffee. It's like you're driving, road raging all day long.
Yeah, man. But then because it still happens to me too, right? I can still fall into that, but I've got an awareness now. So now maybe I'm not as fucked up. Maybe I unfuck myself at 2 p.m. Been later on the day where I'm just like, why is fucking everybody driving me crazy? Why are my kids pissing me off? I'm like, well, you haven't taken a breath yet, dude. You just rolled out of bed and you did. So it happens, right? But
you're human beings, part of the human experience, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Seth, love it if you would wrap the show up with another grounding practice. But before that, let's just ask you real quick, where can people find you? And I already put your and our organization in the caption, My Steady Mind. But where else can people find you, or if they have questions?
Yeah, they can find us. They can find us on the social sites. We're not big into it yet with new business. We're starting to get some stuff out there, but there is some content. It's My Steady Mind on Facebook. There's a Facebook page, a Facebook group, and then Instagram. It's My Steady Minds with an S. I think we're going to have a TikTok up fairly soon, so keep your eyes open for that. But yeah, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. I think you can find me on there, Seth Hickerson. I think we might be putting a My Steady Mind LinkedIn business page out there, hopefully soon. But yeah, that's and they can email any information they want from me, and then mysteadymind.com, obviously.
Right.
I would ask everybody too, if they want, John, you may encourage them to take the free assessment. So on the website, if it's something people can take, just kind of see where they stand,
Yeah, that's a great place to start.
Yeah, and then depending on interest level and stuff, maybe we could give them a 10-minute, phone call or something just to check in. So.
Yeah, and Seth's great about that, like a real one-on-one call, video call.
Yep.
So that's one
Yep.
thing I love about you, Seth, is the time that you take to be one-on-one with the people going through the program. It's pretty phenomenal. I don't know how you do it, but yeah, it's amazing.
I have to practice what I have a formula. I mean, as John knows, I got a single dad with 3 kids trying to do it. So it's just, and then my kids have been out of camp for the last 2 weeks. So believe me, my ass has been full on meditation, praying, breathing. So, but yeah, I'll do a grounding. We can do. I love you too, man. I do. I really love both of you. I love anybody out there that's trying to help themselves and then make your mess your message. That's what I continue to do, man. All that shit I did. I'm alive for some reason, and so if I can help others, I will. Do you want me to you want to do something leading into another tactic, or
whatever you want to do, man? Take it away, wrap it up, and I'm going to make your mess.
Your message.
Yeah. Your testimony. That's another one. Make your test your testimony, but I kind of like mine was much more of a mess than a test. So. But so all this stuff we talked about, right? Thoughts, the thoughts and the breath. Those are the things that we're really, really working to gain awareness and tools to manage. Because if you can't manage your thoughts and your breath, then really you're fuckwithable, very fuckwithable. So knowing most people get up and they're shot out of a cannon. So everything is contingent on thought. And when you understand the way a brain works, you understand how powerful every single word is. Every word matters, right? So one mindset for a lot of people is this: I'm so busy, right? You ask them, that's just this kind of, or people think it's a badge of honor, right? I'm so busy, right? Well, your brain, I'm so busy. When you meet people that are kind of in mindfulness and stuff, it instantly tells me you're inefficient. You don't know what the fuck you're doing. You don't know how to manage your time. When you say I'm so busy, right? It's just an indicator. But neurologically and physiologically, when you say the word busy, right? You could say it right now. If you say I'm so busy, or you start thinking I'm so busy, we associate busy with lacking. We associate it as a threat. So it flips makes the sympathetic engage. And now we're in a threatened feeling, vulnerable. So you can flip that and say, I'm busy. So, so you say, I'm busy. So the parasympathetic, and now it makes you feel more empowered. I see more opportunities I can handle it. Same with need and want. If I need money, if I need a new job, if I need a girlfriend, if I need, it makes us feel, you can feel it when you say it, your sympathetic engages, because we associate that word with lacking. And so it narrows your lenses. Literally, you can't see opportunities. You feel threatened. If you say, I want more money, I want a new job, want parasympathetic. And now it makes you feel empowered. So just every word matters. So that's one thing. Just be aware of what you're saying. But back to so time traveling is the thing that really most people struggle with that have never been trained. And this help answers a lot of people's answers why a lot of people feel the way they feel on a daily basis. So what happens is we're sitting here in a present moment, maybe trying to work on something at the job, or trying to be present in this moment doing something, but our brains, which are designed to think. If I start thinking in the future, whether it's an hour from now or a day or a month, and we have a negativity bias, so we skew towards thinking negatively. So I'm sitting here trying to type, and all of a sudden I start thinking about, oh man, what if I don't get that thing done at 5 o'clock? Or what if I, miss that thing tomorrow? I'm going to lose my job as I'm trying to type, right? So I'm not present. I'm traveling I'm traveling forward. And when we travel forward and catastrophize it, it flips. Our brain doesn't know I'm threatened by something that I'm making up in 3 hours. All it knows is I'm threatened right now. So my sympathetic nervous system engages. Your brain thinks you've got a literal threat, a snake on your lap, right? So that triggers state anxiety. It doesn't necessarily mean you have anxiety. It just means you feel anxious in this state. And that's what most people struggle with, because they can't get the time traveling down. And then when I go backwards in my mind and I start saying, I can't believe I didn't do that thing yesterday. I can't believe I said that to that person yesterday. That makes us feel depressed in the moment. Again, does not necessarily mean you have depression. It just means you feel depressed. So most people out there in our society that have no awareness and no training constantly feel stressed and depressed. They're never present because they constantly feel stressed and depressed because they're time traveling. So one thing we use in sports psychology, a visualization, because that's what I like about what we're doing. We're making mindfulness operationalized, practical, applicable. It's like, do this, not just, oh, this is good for you. But if you catch yourself time traveling, which you will, shut your eyes and picture a stop sign. Make it as bold and red as possible, or say stop, or think stop. Just close your eyes and see it. Just a big, bright ass red stop sign with the white letters on it. And some people suck at visualization. You can practice, but the more you practice it, you really want to start imprinting that stop sign in your head. You can maybe take a little red stop sign sticker and put it on your laptop. Internal and external cues. And so when you have awareness that I'm traveling forward or backwards, maybe take a BAMO breath, and then say or think stop. And then what I'll do is I'll literally, when I catch myself doing it, I'll wiggle my toes in my shoes and I remind myself to be where my feet are. And it brings me back to the present moment for a minute, which is maybe all I need to get back into that report or pick the phone back up and make that call or whatever. And so visualization is a big part of what we teach and train, and having that stop sign, the awareness that you're going to time travel. And when I time travel forward, it makes me feel anxious, and that's okay. That's normal. And when I time travel backwards, it makes me feel depressed, and that's okay and normal. But what do I do about it? And if you don't ever do anything about it, that turns into trait anxiety and trait depression. Then you do have, and then you may need medication and stuff like that. So
awesome.
Get those thoughts and breath under control and you'll be happier and healthier, I promise.
Awesome. Amen, brother.
Yep. So,
Seth,
all right, gentlemen.
Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. It's been a blast, and definitely, I think we'll have you back on some point down the line.
Oh yeah, we can talk about all kinds of manifestation and self-fulfilling prophecy and subconscious self-sabotage, whatever you want.
Self-efficacy for sure, man.
Yeah.
We got a new ally for the show, John. New expert, new ally. We're developing. Kind of a nice.
I do. I love you guys. I consider you friends.
Same.
I'm looking forward to doing.
Same, man.
Because this is to be excited to work with people that are out there. Not just talking about it, but being about it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right.
We have a bright future. Future, and I'm glad we're here together. Glad three good men with with all sorts of tattered pasts.
Oh yeah.
I'm right. I mean, seriously.
Dude.
I was a bit of a fuck up.
I mean, the universe. The universe works in mysterious ways, right? I truly believe that.
Oh, completely.
If you're trying and you're putting in the effort, we're still going to fuck up, do dumb things, but you just keep trying, and you're, because it's what you radiate, and it's just the universe, the law of attraction starts to bring the right people in places. And so who knows where we'll take this, but I think we're doing everything that we need to be doing right now. So
there you go, brother. There you go. Well, Will, you want to bring us to a close, brother?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Seth Hickerson. Thank you so much for Dr. Seth.
Dr. Seth. I never actually got saluted. John actually got saluted. I was always doing the saluting. So
I think I got this salute several times.
I know I gave that to a few officers in my days.
The middle finger salute for all the visual.
Oh yeah, for the listeners.
And this is Dr. Seth Hickerson from mysteadymind.com. Go check him out. Everybody that's listening, thank you so much for tuning in today. Thank you again also for sharing this with your community out there and growing and helping us grow our Men Talking Mindfulness community. You can check us out on mentalkingmindfulness.com. We're on all over social media. Everything is at Men Talking Mindfulness. And I just appreciate having some great human beings coming together and all the great human beings that are out there listening and spreading the good word of mindfulness. And I think that's really it, John. Are we good?
All right, gents, that's it. Yeah, have a great weekend, guys. Seth, hang out for a second after the closure, and we'll talk. And that's that. That's a wrap. Thanks all.
Sounds good.
Peace. Thanks.
Thanks for joining Will and John on Men Talking Mindfulness. If you enjoyed the show, please like and share it with your friends and family, and please, we would appreciate a review too. Until next time, this has been Men Talking Mindfulness. Thanks for showing up.